Well, good afternoon. This is Micah Young with Micah Young Podcast. Thank you so much for being with us, and we hope you like what you see and what you hear. And if you do, if you'll just click on like, and if you go to YouTube, you can sign up for a notification, and you'll get a notice every time a new one comes out. Also, we're on Apple Podcasts now, so you can listen to us without the audio. We're in the middle of doing this podcast on relationship, and the last time we did part one on kindness. And so this is going to be the second part of it, and we're just going to jump right in kind of where we left off last time. See, Jesus was an expression of kindness to those that he encountered, even those that were culturally undeserving of his kindness. When he met the woman at the well, you just sense the graciousness with him. Here's a woman he shouldn't even be talking to culturally. Here's a woman that he shouldn't be having anything to do with culturally. But in his kindness, in expressing the kindness of the Father, he engages her. And in that engagement, in her seeing what God now is really like, she comes to know him. You see that in the sinners that he hung around with. You see that in children that recognize that kindness and wanted to be with him. Children don't want to be around an old fogey. They don't want to be around somebody that's always critical in judgment. They recognized his kindness. And several times in Scripture, the Spirit encourages us to be kind to one another. Now, here's why I think that's important. Kindness expresses value to people. Say that again. Kindness expresses value to people. Taking time and energy for them expresses to them they have value. It's that they are more important than my agenda. They're more important than my schedule. They're more important than my comfort zone, which being kind, engaging them and being kind to them may be out of my comfort zone. But it says to them, you are more important than what I want to do and what I want to accomplish. Now, I have to be honest with you. I often have difficulty showing kindness when I'm out in public, when I'm out doing whatever it is I do. And it's not that I don't like people, but I usually have tunnel vision. I usually am a man on a mission. I go to Walmart, I'm going to pick up something. I go to the grocery store, I'm going to get this done so that I can get back and do this. And my schedule many times is more important than me expressing kindness. Or I may not be rude to them, but I may not be judgmental to them, but by just maybe ignoring them, maybe by avoiding them, I'm saying my agenda and my time frame is more important than you are. You know, I have two daughters actually, and one of them worked at a big restaurant here where we live before she went into the Air Force. And she worked for a small income and then tips. And I never will forget her telling me, she was saying that she used to tell me all the time, and I've not heard this just from her, I've heard it from lots of wait and servant people, that the worst tippers and the rudest people that come into their restaurant are church people who come in Sunday afternoon after church. Now think about that. They've just been with God. Man, they've lifted their voice, they've lifted their hands, they've prayed in tongues, they've sang all the good music and all the good stuff, and they've had this wonderful feeling. But that doesn't seem to translate into the world. And I can't tell her how many times they talk about how little bit they tip and how rude they seem to be and entitled. Now you need to jump through all these hoops to give me whatever I want. Instead of going in there to be an expression of God's kindness, they had their own agenda. They had their own schedule. See, kindness can't be feigned. It can't be faked. Pretending to show kindness is one of the phony expressions there is. It has to be real. Kindness is not emotion. Sometimes we just define love as an emotion. You can't define kindness as an emotion. I can't just feel kindness towards you. You need to be the recipient of that kindness in order for kindness to be expressed. Kindness is an action that is marked by generosity, marked by consideration, marked by honor and concern for others. Kindness is not just how I feel about a person. Kindness is not merely withholding judgment or ignoring. Part of kindness is actively extending grace. Now, it's true, kindness doesn't judge and bring criticism, but it's more than the negative. It's the positive. It's actively extending God's grace to someone. Kindness. What an awfully wonderful expression of the Father's excellencies. Now, you might ask yourself, well, how do I learn to express kindness? Well, we learn to express kindness like we learn everything else. Ask the Father. Ask the Father to reveal expressions of His kindness towards you. Okay? Ask the Father to reveal expressions of kindness from Him toward you. Relationships with people begin with how I perceive God's relationship with me. If I see God as always judgmental, if I see God as angry, if I see God as always critical, if I see God as avoiding me, that's what I'm going to take into the world, because that's what shapes my understanding of relationship. But if I can begin to see the expressions of kindness, the expressions of God's goodness that He has extended toward me, and I can embrace those and thank Him for those, then I will carry that kindness into my relationships with other people. Does that make any sense? How do I learn to express kindness? Ask the Father to reveal expressions of His kindness towards me. And how can I carry that into my relationships with other people? Ask the Father to work kindness into your life. You'll find as you behold the Father, He begins to work this in our life. In that secret place, as we begin to behold Him, and He brings about that change in our life, we'll find that He will intervene in our habitual behavior and say, I wouldn't treat them that way. Or that's not how you really want to treat them. Or how about extending kindness to them instead of just running in, running out, and ignoring everybody. I can't tell you how many times that's happened to me. I find the Father saying, there's something else you could do here. You don't have to do this. You don't have to have that look of disgust on your face when you're standing in line at the grocery store. You don't have to be quick and tempered with a salesperson who doesn't quite catch what you're trying to communicate to them. Ask the Father to work kindness into your life as we behold Him. Here's just some very simple things that have helped me. One of these things is just ask people their name. Sit down in a restaurant. Many times they've got the name on their name tag on their outfit or uniform, and ask them their name. Acknowledge their name. Call them by their name. That extends value. That extends importance. That you're valuing them enough to want to make a connection there. Not just seeing them as a servant, not just seeing them as someone that's sitting there to get you what you want in the time frame that you want them to get it, but someone that is important enough that you want to know their name. Show genuine interest in them. Let me explain this distinction here. Show genuine interest. Don't wait to feel interested. Okay? There is a difference in being interested and showing interest. There may not be any common interest in your life and this waitress's life or this salesperson's life. that doesn't keep us from showing interest in their life, to demonstrating interest in their life. Whether I feel interested, have a common interest or not, show an interest in their life because the Father is interested. What am I doing when I do that? I'm showing them that the Father is interested in their life. I do that sometimes by asking non-probing questions. I have had a very dear friend, and he's gone on to be with the Lord now. But we traveled to a lot of different places together, and I loved traveling with him because he knew questions to ask. He knew how to engage people, and I could just stand back and watch him do it and learn from that. But ask non-probing questions to people, not as an interrogation, but as showing interest in. How long have you worked here? Do you like your job? How long have you been, do you live in this area? It's not grilling them, but it's just demonstrating that you're interested in their life. And here's what I found. People like to talk about themselves. Most people really like to talk about themselves. And if you show an interest in them, many times they will open up and share with you what's going on with them. Find something to compliment them about. Most people enjoy being appreciated. Complimenting someone is expressions of appreciation. And so find something to compliment them about. Here's a caution. Share commonality sparingly. I watch people trying to engage and they're talking with someone and they're asking questions and the person just comments on something and immediately they've got a story to tell about themselves. That doesn't show interest in them. That changes the focus from them to me. Now all of a sudden, it's about me telling my story, not about you telling your story. Doesn't mean that you don't share at times, but do that cautiously because you're here to encourage them and engage them, not to share your story, not to make it about you. And I encourage you to only do that as it helps build the rapport with them. But share commonality sparingly. Don't just, because if you watch so many times, and I've been guilty of doing this, I'm listening to someone talk. I may have asked a question, and I'm listening to someone talk, but in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, not these words, and I'm exaggerating it, would you please shut up so I can talk? And we may not think that, we may not even feel that, but many times we exude that, we express that. Show interest in this person that God has brought into your life, that there might be a relationship established there. See 1 Peter 2:9, when it says all those things about us, those things say, I am the kind of person people will want to have a relationship with if I get over myself, if I get myself out of the way, if I make others important, if I make others a priority, if I extend kindness to others. I am expressing the kind of person Christ has made me. And that makes people want to have relationship instead of just making it about me and what I can get out of it and how it makes me feel. It's a different twist. I understand that. But ask the Father about it and ask him to show you if there's any relevance in here to our own life and us establishing relationships. So I want to thank you again for listening. God bless you. We pray that what the Lord quickens your heart will become real to your life, because it is the kindness of God that leads us to change our mind. We thank you so much for listening in and pray that the Lord will use this to speak to your heart. You know, it seems like a small thing about kindness, but I think it's very critical. It's significant enough that God extends his kindness to us and reveals his kindness to us in order to draw us to him, that we might want to be with him. And I think that's the problem we have today, is God has been so misrepresented to people. Who wants to obey him? Who wants to spend time with him? He's such an ogre. And so pray that this own kindness has encouraged you not only to ask the Lord to develop kindness in us and to extend that kindness, but that it will encourage us to spend time with the Lord, that he can reveal his kindness to us. Lord bless you.